And Shannon from Transat 649er, I answered you, but I think I was on mute there. We did get Shanwick on 31.8. Thanks for the service.
See you later, thanks.
Alright, so I answered him, but my mic was still muted and I didn't realize that. Silly me. So, yeah, I had to go back and answer him again. Alright, so we passed the Dara there. We just passed it just now. There it is, following behind us. It's the from waypoint in our flight plan, so we can make our first position report with Gander. And pretty much all the information we need is right here, except for our Mach number, which is right up here. Gander, correction, Shanwick Radio, Transat 649er with a position report. Shanwick Radio, Transat 649er, crossed point Adara at time 1351 Zulu. Flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating 53 north, 020 west at time 1415 Zulu. And 54 north, 030 west thereafter.
Transat 649, position for having open your port and at time 1351 Zulu, flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating 53 north, 020 west at time 1415 Zulu. 54 north, 030 west thereafter.
And readback's all correct for Transat 649er, thank you. That's it, guys. We have now entered the Oceanic airspace. We're on the Oceanic segment of our flight plan. Might as well zoom to max range because you ain't gonna see too much out there anymore. Our next waypoint is 170 miles away. We're gonna reach it in about 20 minutes. Gonna make another position report after that, and about every 45 minutes thereafter for the next 3 hours, getting through this Oceanic airspace. Nice to see some total coverage here on the Oceanic frequencies as well. Actually, one thing I should do is get a cell cal check as well. And Shanwick Radio, Transat 649er, request a cell cal check.
Transat 649er, what's the cell zone?
Yeah, just want to make sure we had your attention. It's Charlie November Bravo Sierra for Transat 649er. Charlie November Bravo Sierra.
Yeah, Transat 649, was just actually it's perfect timing. I was checking your remarks for circle 10.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say again for Transat 649er?
Transat 649, when you actually contacted me, I was looking for your remarks for the circle itself, but the circle have been sent right now.
Yeah, it may not have got into the flight plan. And cell cal checks for Transat 649er. Alright, so we got all that squared away. We're in with the Oceanic, so... And Shanwick is also monitoring my my stream as well. So we won't tell him too much that we're going to step away for a few minutes while we await our next position report here and finish up the rest of our breakfast, because for those of us who live on the other side of the pond, it's breakfast time. But we will be back for that next position report, fear not. And we are also watching the whole time on the stream as well ourselves. It's the beauty of having a stream is that you can watch your own flight from another room while things are happening. So we will be back, guys, on frequency in a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, and stick with us here on the Twitch channel, and we'll be back.
story time in Oceanic.
Welcome back to the flight deck here with Captain Nabs. We are back in and we are ready to do, I think, another position report with Gander here. Oh, hold on, I got my volume back up on my other device again because I was monitoring my stream, and yes, we did pass a minute ago. We did pass this waypoint, so let's go ahead. For some reason, we also got booted off the network, just a network connection glitch, but we seem to be back online now. So let's go ahead and make sure. Yes, Gander's still, or Shanwick is still there. I should say Shanwick. Shanwick Radio, Transat 649er position report.
Go ahead.
Transat 649er passed position 53 north, 020 west at time 1416 Zulu. Flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating 54 north, 030 west at time 1501 Zulu. 54 north, 40 west thereafter.
Transat 649, position report copy, reported in 53 north 020 west at time 1416 Zulu. Flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating 54 north 030 west at time 1501 Zulu. 54 north 040 west thereafter.
Read back all correct for Transat 649er, thank you. Alright, and that's it. We're back. It's another position report done. The next one is due in about 40 minutes. Have a quick little look around the flight deck here. Not seeing any ICAS warning messages or anything untowards. Quick little fuel check here as well. Since fuel is one of the dominant things you got to worry about in oceanic flying. We've burned off 19.2, almost 19.3. So the 270 and the 190 pretty much add up to the 500 there, give or take at less than 100 pounds, or less than 100 kilos anyways. And 19 and 36 is 46, 56, 55. Yes, 55, 5. Give or take 100 kilos, we still have all the fuel we need. The other thing, as I mentioned before, we're approaching ETP number 1. Where's my flight plan here? Is it on here? Yes, there it is. No, that's not it. Where's my flight plan? Sorry. That's not it. That's it. So there we go. So ETP number 1 is coming up here. So we passed Adara, and then I believe this was our 20 west waypoint there, 5320, and this will be 5430 here. So as we approach 5430, we're going to be there. I believe it was 27 west and change. So in the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to pass our equal time point, where the closer point is actually going to be Iceland rather than Ireland. Just change one letter between the two. Really, Ireland to Iceland. I know we pronounced it differently, but it's funny. The spelling is only one letter different between our two destinations there. But that's it. Otherwise, everything's looking pretty hunky-dory. Engines, everything's running in the green. Bleed system is, everything's in the green. Pressure looks normal. Temperatures look good. Pressurization system. Hey, this time it actually pressurized. The cabin altitude is 6,000 feet with a differential of only 8.5 psi. Works about 50% of the time. Electrical AC. Essentials are running off the left. AC gen, and everything appears to be normal there. Electrical DC. Everything is looking green and normal. Hydraulics, again, green. As long as it's green, it's normal. APU is obviously not running. Air conditioning system. Running some warm air in here just to keep the airplane warm, but for the most part it looks fairly consistently warm across the airplane there. Doors are all still closed. Tires are all still pressurized. Brakes are all ice cold. Flight controls are looking very normal now. Whatever was going on with that pre-flight flight control glitch seems to have resolved itself. And fuel page. And back to our cruise page, and that's it. Everything seems to be going hunky-dory, so we're going to just go ahead and carry on until our next Gander waypoint here. I've got, I'm going to continue working on some other videos here on the side, so rather than sit here and chat forever, I'm going to start working on some other videos that I've been meaning to work on. I actually planned to work on them yesterday. I had my computer with me, forgot my power supply, which obviously makes it very difficult to use the computer, especially for anything complicated like video editing that churns up a lot of power very quickly, so waste of time. Anyways, yeah, so we're going to step out of the flight deck again for a little bit. We're probably going to step out for every single checkpoint here, but we'll be back by 1500-ish to make our next position report to Shanwick, and when we do that and cross 30 west, we'll also be switching over to the Gander Oceanic. I'm just making up names of stuff now, apparently. Ganwick. Well, I guess it's better than Shander. I don't okay, anyways, yeah, we're going to step away for a little bit, guys. Thank you so much for watching the stream. When we do get to the North American side, we'll probably be on for a little bit more of a continuous spurt, depending on how the ATC coverage is doing on that side. But the great advantage of Oceanic flying and the way the VATSIM network has it organized, especially that we can work it out nicely here, is that we can step away for periods of time in between the position reports. I'll just leave my FO here to monitor. He's doing a good job. Nice job there. I know you can't see him, but, you know. You can't see how hard he's working. He's sweating. He's working so hard over there trying to keep track of us. So, anyways, yes, we'll be back in about just a little under 40 minutes, guys. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a little bit. Alright, so we're back in the flight deck. As you guys can probably tell, we passed our last waypoint there, 54 north, 30 west, just a few minutes ago.
That was 9-0, now 3-1-0.
And we're just trying to get a word in edgewise on the Gander radio frequency here.
130, and next will be 4940.
Okay, once again, what is the time crossing at GP?
Prophetic state GP was 1504.
Roger, mark number?
Apologies, block number decimal 0, decimal 83. Perfect.
Okay, next point is 4930, what's time?
Estimate 01513, and next 49er.
Okay, FedEx, you're just breaking. So once again, estimating point and estimating time for the point.
Estimate 49er 501513, next 49er 40.
Roger, Captain Copy, reporting crossing Choppy at 1504, fly level 3101 decimal 83, estimating 59er, correction, 49er 0 west at 15132, 49 north west at Africa,
Recap correct.
Gander Radio, Transat 649er position report.
Transfer for correction 649 and fast message.
Thank you, Transat 649er. We crossed 54 north, 30 west at time 1502 Zulu. Flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating 54 north, 040 west at time 1546 Zulu. 53 north, 50 west thereafter.
Okay, so 649, what time you cross the Azara?
We crossed 54 north, 030 west at time 1502.
Okay, stand by. 649.
La la la. Just waiting for the readback. This may go down as probably the longest flight that I've had
Stand by.
continuous VATSIM ATC for in my Twitch stream series. I've had some good ones, but this one might go down. If I have both Shanwick and Gander, I had Shannon before that, and we might even get Montreal after. We may have a good solid 5 to 6 hours of ATC on this 8-hour flight today. Just the first, the front end was missing there the first couple of hours.
Okay, transfer 649, once again. You just reported 5403 west, what's that?
Okay, Transat 649er, yeah, it was 54 north, 30 west at time 1502, 2 minutes after the hour.
Yeah, brilliant. What's the next? 54440?
A-firm 54 north, 40 west, estimate time 1546.
Okay, transfer 649, Captain Copy 54 north, 30 west and 1502. Flight level 360, estimating 54 north, 40 west and 1546 to Zulu. 5350 west then Africa.
That's all correct, and if you need the Mach number, it's decimal 84 for Transat 649er.
Yeah, what's the Mach? It's 84, yeah?
Yep, you got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, got it in there. It's a lot of writing down. When you work Gander, all of this stuff. Every piece of information has to be typed in and or written down. So the important thing when you're doing this is to go slow. Don't try to rush through it really quickly, because chances are the controller is not going to be able to write as fast as you. Think of how fast you could write. Take about a second for each number. Because chances are, if you say it too fast, you're just going to repeat yourself over and over again.
Roger,
Alright, so that's it for another 45 minutes, and we're going to leave it to the FO to keep an eye on the airplane, and we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of work off to the side while the stream continues, but stay tuned till the end, guys. I'll come back in another couple of hours if you're going to step away, but come back for the arrival in Montreal in about 3 to 4, just under 4 hours, I guess. We'll be arriving in Montreal, and we're hoping for some ATC online there. It'll be fun. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you guys all in real soon.
Sorry, I know I messed up. We can go back. I can go back.
It's all right. You'll never be alone again. You're with me now. You're with me. I have such wonderful, wonderful things to show you.
I see those eyes in my isolation, dividing lines drawn across the gray. Feel the driving winds coming over us. Say my name before I venture to the snow. These frozen feathers are all I need to let go. To be this close, to stand so far, to see you just beneath the surface. To keep the faith alive. As I swim through frozen mercury, say my name.
Back in the flight deck again. We're back in the flight deck again. I guess we're not going to make a position report yet because we still got about 30 or 40 miles to go. Because we're back in the flight deck again. I think the other thing that we've also got working against us here, more than anything, is the fact that the winds are slowly increasing now as we head westbound, as was predicted by our flight plan. So yeah, we got about 4 minutes here to go now until we reach the next waypoint.
Reporting to the after is Tusky. Is that correct?
And it's adding time back to our overall flight again here. We're looking at time is creeping slowly closer back to 1800 or 1900, back towards 1900 from we were at about 1845 at one point, and we've lost about 15 minutes as the wind spilled in, but I don't trust this airplane, and I don't want to put in the wind forecast at this point. It is going to get a bit higher here. Let's have a quick look here at the flight plan.
Estimating 4905 euros and 1637. Job to Africa.
There it is. So, yeah, as we approach, we're 50 west here, 229 at 51. Rickle is actually going to drop a little bit, and then as we approach Taffy, it's going to build up quite a bit. It's going to be kind of from the northwest. That's the one thing, is it's going to veer around to be more from the northwest, so it's still going to be a bit of a crosswind. The component's not going to increase by that much. It was a minus 43 wind component. It's going to go to a 60 knot headwind component. 58 knots, picking up to 78 knots as we start to make the turn inbound to Montreal on the arrival. But at that point, we'll be starting to descend, and we'll it won't be so bad. So, yeah, so we're slowly getting there. We are losing a little bit of time just because of the winds, but that's fine. It's not unexpected. The other thing too is that we have already passed. Let's see here, data, position, FMS. We've already 39 west, which means I believe we've already crossed the equal time point. And Gander is now at all time our closest alternate here. Let's go maps. And there's ETP2. It is just before the 40 west waypoint there. And you can always go to the ETOPS information on your flight plan as well, which I think is under additional info. Don't do that. Don't like scrolling through it like mad. Okay, flight plan, waypoints. Ah, there it is. ETOPS. The buttons are hard to see on this. There we go. So ETOPS point number 2, 3756 west, and we are at 39. So we have passed it already a few minutes ago. We are now closest to Gander. So if anything happens at this point in the flight, the safest course of action and the closest alternate is basically straight ahead, a little bit to the left slightly, but basically straight ahead to go to Gander.
I'll just call you back when ready for climb flight over 360. Okay, no worries.
Alright. We're going to cross 5440 north now in 1 minute. So while we're waiting for that 1 minute to pop up, again, quick fuel check here. We've burned 28,100 according to our fuel transducers. 27 still left in the tanks. 28 and 27 is 20. 8 and 7 is 1415. That's 40, 50, 55, and there's the extra 500 in the remainders there. So we still have 55,500 kilograms of fuel accounted for, so that's good. And not much seems to have changed. The engines are still turning at the same speed. Bleeds are all working rock solid. The cabin pressurization is stable. The generators, AC and DC, all appear stable. Hydraulics, no actions there. All circuit breakers are normal. Conditioning looks good. Doors are all normal. Landing gear all appears normal. Flight controls appear normal. There's flight controls. Carbon fuel again. Looks good. Back to the cruise page. And we have passed 5440, so. Gander radio, Transat 649er with position report. Get his attention whenever he has a chance. I know he's busy doing a few things, so I'm not in a big rush or anything. Thank you, Transat 649er. Just past 54 north, 040 west at time 1550 Zulu. Flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating Fife Tree north, 050 west at time 1635 Zulu, and Rickle thereafter.
Traffic 649, Gander copy, 54040 west at 1550 Zulu, flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating 53050 west at 1635 Zulu, Rickle then Humphrey on the right.
Read back all correct, Transat 649er, thank you.
Again, radio version 77.
Alright, so the next one is not until 1635, that's about 45 minutes from now, so again, Getting a step away and do a few other things, because once we get domestic, right now we are still showing Montreal Centre online, and if we have Montreal Centre online, then that means that we're going to have almost continuous ATC all the way down to the ground, in which case we're going to have to be in the flight deck for most of that time. It's not a bad thing, but I just have to be focused on that. So for the time being, we're going to step away for the last little chance we have to refresh our coffee and get a few other things done while we get ready to sit in the flight deck for the remainder of the arrival time into Montreal. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it as always, and stick with me. We will be back in about another 45 minutes. Carry on across the pond. Alright, back in the flight deck, ladies and gents, once again. And we are not quite there yet. We are not quite at the reporting point there, but we're very close. It's just taken, it's added another 5 minutes to that reporting point. It's added about 10 minutes to our flight in total because the wind has definitely swung around to be a bit more of a headwind component as we go further westbound. So we're losing a little bit of our speed as we go. But we're going to have to do one more position report here in just a minute here. We got about two minutes. And, yeah, about 2 minutes and we'll be there. And we're going to be entering domestic after the next waypoint. So you can see Rickle there is the end of the Oceanic airspace. After that, we are in domestic airspace. We continue domestic airspace rest of the way to Montreal, and it's not going to be long now. Let's see here, 1901, we're at 1638. We got a little over 2 hours remaining now. So we're making some pretty quick progress here. The winds are going to really kind of swing to be more northwesterly as we head further west. They're going to get stronger, but they're going to be still a crosswind more than anything. So our headwind component's not going to increase too much, hopefully. And hopefully our time will not increase too much to Montreal, much beyond that 1900, which is still not a bad time. It's also, we're churning up a little bit more fuel to get there now. It looks like we're using almost another full ton. We went from 12 and something to just barely over 11 tons of fuel when we get to Montreal, which is still plenty. That's 5 tons extra above the 6 we need minimum to get to Ottawa. So it's still lots of fuel, but a little bit less than we had originally were anticipating. But it's just because the winds are growing stronger as we head a little further west. But overall, a pretty light wind day for crossing the Atlantic. Not too bad for the headwind component is generally... It is about as low as it's generally going to get, so we can't complain. We're making excellent time. Mach decimal 84, and after Rickle, we're going to climb to 3802 for the domestic segment again. Alright, so we're just waiting to cross that last waypoint, 5350. And we've already exited, I believe we've already exited the ETOP space. Our next waypoint is... our closest airport still I think is Gander, although Goose Bay also up here now is going to be fairly close. How about if we do VOR DMEs instead? That'll take away a lot of that clutter. There we go. Make a little turn here towards Rickle, and therefore there it is. Gander radio, Transat 649er, position report.
Transat 649er, go ahead with position report.
Transat 649er just crossed 53 north, 050 west at 1640 Zulu. Flight level 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimating Rickle at 1705 Zulu and domestic thereafter.
Transat 649, again the copy, factory no 50 west at 1640 Zulu, flight number 360, Mach decimal 84. Estimated region 1705 and domestic thereafter, Captain.
Transat 649er, read back correct, thank you. And that's it. We got 25 minutes till we cross Rickle and exit the Oceanic airspace, and we are doing well here because we have both Moncton Centre and Montreal Centre online here in Toronto. We're having a bang up ATC day, I gotta say. Pretty impressed. Oh, look, and even across Canada, there's only one FIR that's actually not staffed right now. Winnipeg's not staffed, but we got Moncton, we got Montreal, we got Toronto, we got Edmonton, and we got Vancouver, as well as the Gander Oceanic. We got almost full staffing in Canada today. Don't know what the occasion is. I guess everyone's just staying inside because of the COVID. But we are 70% of our way done our journey here. We've got a little bit left to go. But we are going to step away again for this last portion of the Oceanic, because once we come back in the Moncton domestic airspace, we're going to need to stay with the airplane for the rest of the flight, pretty much by the looks of it, unless the ATC signs off on us. So we're going to step away for this last little bit here, take our last little breaks, and be ready for a full-on hour and a half in the flight deck, starting at around just after 1700 Zulu. So once again, thank you for watching the channel, guys, and I promise we will have some continuous commentary in a little bit here. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and we will see you up there in the skies real soon.
Goodbye.
Alright guys, we're back at the flight deck here. And as you may have just heard, Gander just closed down just as we left the Oceanic airspace just a couple of minutes ago. So we're switching right to Moncton. We're going to check in with them right now.
To Delta 2 Charlie.
I guess I need to remove that flag right there. Nope. And I guess we missed out on Moncton here.
Navigation's radar services terminate. Have a good flight into Boston. See ya.
Moncton Center, good morning. Transat 649's with you, but I guess you're shutting down now.
Yeah, Transat 649, yeah, sorry about that, sir. Just tune back 22.8 and have a good flight into Montreal.
Alright, thank you very much for being here anyways, and we'll talk to you next time. Alright. Well, I thought we had some ATC, and I'm still pretty impressed. We had ATC for the entire Oceanic segment, and that rarely happens because Oceanic segments are long, 3 to 4 hours, and you never get ATC to last that long on Oceanic usually. It's usually relatively short-lived. I hate to say it in a bad way, but it's usually relatively short-lived. So, yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Not what we quite wanted to happen there. We thought we were going to have some ATC almost right the way through, but I guess not. But that's okay. we are going to make do just fine without ATC. Done this crossing many times with little to no ATC, so I'm sure we'll make it anyhow even without the ATC. Let's just see where we are here. So we just passed Rickle. The wind is starting to veer here now, I think. It was out of like about 240 or 50, and now it's pretty much straight on the nose, 272 at 45, but it's going to continue to veer according to our flight plan anyways. According to the predictions in our flight plan, and if I look at the whole chart here, I'm just going to go down to the map if I can get it to go that far. It doesn't want to go that far for me today. Stupid thing. Come on, you can do it. There it is. Anyway, so if you look at the winds here, let's just get that down a little further here. Oop. What the? Can't get it to go, and then suddenly it just won't go on its own. It's just not cooperating with me today. Okay. Anywho. Stop! This is one trouble with track hire, is like you breathe a little bit, and like your mouse will shift onto other points. Which can be very frustrating. Okay. Yeah, so as we come westbound here, you can see the winds originally were kind of a little bit crosswind from the left. They're swinging around to be pretty much a straight headwind now, but as we go further west from Newfoundland and in towards across the Gulf of St. Lawrence and onto the Gaspé Peninsula, you can see it's going to swing to be fairly northwesterly here. Pretty strong, 100 plus knots out of the northwest. But nevertheless, we're going to make a pretty good time here. Now, what we were supposed to do at Rickle as well, for those of you that were paying attention, we were supposed to do a step climb to 380. Since Moncton is not online, we don't need to request it from him, so we're just going to go ahead and do it. 380 managed. It's going to bump that power setting right up there. It's going to set a new cruise altitude of 380, and we'll see what the wind gives us when we get up to 380. Even now, it's coming around even further. That wind is shifting pretty quickly there. 277 at 48. And it looks like that may have gained us back 100 kilos or so on the fuel. We'll see what the wind settles at when we get to our new altitude here, but still looking pretty good for 1802 with 11.2 in the tank. Still, based on the prediction anyways, lots of fuel in the tanks. So we're doing pretty good here. I'm pretty impressed overall. We are getting close to Montreal now. We got a little under 2 hours to go still here. One thing I did want to mention, actually, it's something that probably there's 370 climbing 380. Most simmers are completely unaware of, but something that's exciting, interesting. I don't know if it's exciting. I think it's a little bit exciting. But next month, I believe it's on December 12th. I'd have to go check to be absolutely certain of the date, but anyways, sometime in December, and I think it's December 12th or thereabouts, there is going to be an important change in Canada. Canada is finally going to start to catch up to the rest of the world in terms of duty time regulations for pilots. So this is something that simmers are not really dealing with on a regular basis, but boy, this really affects the real world pilots on a daily basis and affects their quality of life. And affects safety greatly in the aviation industry. A well-rested pilot is going to be a safer pilot that's able to handle normal flying more precisely, more accurately, and also handle abnormalities more precisely, more accurately, and probably more safely. For a long time now, for about 50 years now, Canada has had the same duty time regulations, and they have not really changed in almost 50 years. It's been something like 50 years. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but anyways, it's been decades. For decades and decades, the duty rules were the same in Canada, unchanged. And the basic limitation in most scenarios was pilots were limited to a 14-hour duty day. A 14-hour day. Now just stop and think about that for a moment. Think about your average work day. The average person works 8 hours a day. And think of how tired you are at the end of that 8-hour work day. Now imagine working almost an entire another day. 6 more hours at work when you reach that 8 o'clock. Imagine 5 p.m. and you still got 6 more hours to go on your work shift. it's crazy to think that you know, pilots were being regularly expected to work that long, and most days don't usually work out to be that long. That was the upper limit, you know, and days would come in at under that limit, but 12-hour days, not uncommon in the aviation industry for a long time now, depending on, it depends on so much. It's hard to, you know, generalize because schedules vary from company to company depending on the route structure, the types of airplanes being flown. Of course, any contracts also will affect, you know, how the pairings are designed. And the lengths of the legs too will affect it. Like, you can't put together two 6-hour legs and expect them to come in at under a 12-hour day. You're going to get to 13 or 14 hours pretty quickly. So, you know, there's all sorts of factors that go into it. But because the limit was 14, a lot of airlines generally strove for the 10 to 12-hour range for a typical duty day because it was efficient. It made good use of your crew. You know, but it also had a low likelihood of going past the 14-hour mark and then potentially canceling flights and having people getting stranded in the wrong places because there were no flights at the wrong time. But that 14-hour day, like, even, like, and the trouble is, like, if you reached that 14-hour mark, it was because stuff was probably going wrong, which was therefore increasing your workload, and probably wearing you out, much more fatiguing than a day where everything is generally sky clear, things are going well, everything's on time. It's that last little bit, and of course you've got to do an approach and landing at the end of every flight. So at the end of your workday, when you've been at work for 14 hours, and if you've been at work for 14 hours, you've probably been awake for at least 16, if not more, because you probably had to get up. You had to report at the airport, probably. You know, well, I mean, your 14-hour starts when you report at the airport, but you probably had to get up, have a shower, get dressed, and then either drive yourself to the airport, or if you're at a hotel, take the shuttle. You know, all that. It takes probably at least an hour to an hour and a half. So you've probably been awake 16 hours by the end of a 14-hour day. So anybody doing any job would be exhausted by that point. And like I said, if it was a bad day that you got to the 14-hour mark, chances are there's a lot of stuff that went wrong and wore you out a lot faster. So 14 hours has been the limit. It was never really scientifically determined. It was just sort of a number that was pulled out years and years ago, decades ago, before even sleep science really existed to any great degree. They just sort of picked a round number out that sort of worked well, and went from there. But you know, over the course of the last 20-30 years, as human factors have begun to play more and more of an impact in aviation accidents and incidents, they began to look at things that were causing those root causes of why are people doing these things. And one that came up often, very often, was one of those things that, that came up often was that a lot of these crews were tired. They were reaching the end of often a very long day, and so when they began to study it and look at the science behind it, they realized that 14 hours, nobody really reasonably expects human beings to be able to perform a normal task at the end of a 14-hour day to any great degree of competence and precision. You know, when you're that tired, especially if you've been working hard for that 14 hours, there's a good chance that you're going to be beyond your limit. You're going to be way too tired to work. So they started to look at all sorts of different factors that affect how restful flight time is for pilots, or how fatiguing, I should say, flight time is for pilots, and tried to create a more realistic set of regulations that matched the science at the end of the day, that said, you know, how long are people reasonably cognitively able to function and be able to perform a job to a great degree of competence, which aviation always requires. You know, the stakes are very high in aviation, and if you can make a mistake that could very well be fatal for you and for many people if you make a poor decision, especially at the end of a long day. So they looked at the science, and they decided to, well, Canada unfortunately sat back for a long time and didn't do anything for a long time. Canada sat back for a long time and didn't do anything, and Europe changed. I don't even know how long ago. When the European Union started to come into being, and EASA started taking over a lot of the role in regulating aviation in Europe. Already the rules were more stringent in Europe than in North America for the most part, where these rules had been created years and years ago and just simply hadn't been updated. But even 10 years ago, America got on board, and there's a country that usually you drag them kicking and screaming into additional regulation. But America got on board and said, yes, the 14-hour duty day is a ridiculous concept. It's a construct from the era of World War II flying, when you just got done what you could get done in a day, and it was ridiculous to expect that much from people. But Canada sat on the fence for 10 more years. And only 2 years ago did they finally, and they kept on saying, well, we're working on something, we're drafting some things, we're examining the science, and it went on and on and on, and everyone in the industry began to believe it was never going to happen. There was working group after working group. Oh, we're going to try and get the regulations right, so we want to make sure, we take some time to think this through. But I just think to myself, like, if America was able to do it, get it implemented 10 years ago, what took an additional 10 years? Like, what were they doing while America was finally getting out there and at least writing the regulations and analyzing the effect and talking to people in the industry? And Canada was just sitting on its laurels, and it was only when the FAA suddenly had said, hey, we're doing this, I think Transport Canada finally woke up and said, well, I guess maybe we should actually do something here. And I'm sure there was pushback from the air carriers as well. I have very little doubt that there was at least some pushback over time from the carriers who said, well, we can't continue to maintain service levels and schedules if people are working less. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the science. People cannot function past a certain amount of workload. So coming next month, so 2 years ago, they finally announced and published these regulations, and they gave the entire country a 2-year implementation period to get it all together, to get it underway, to get organized. And so, and the other thing too, of course, 2 years ago when they were looking forward, they said, yeah, we're going to have to probably hire about 30% more pilots for every company, just to cover the fact that on any given day, pilots are working shorter days. And so there was a really big pushback from industry 2 years ago, and going into the publication 2 years ago, that there was a pilot shortage at the time already. If you guys can remember back 2 years ago when there was a pilot shortage, but there was a pilot shortage 2 years ago, and and all the airlines said, well, we can't hire people right now to fill the schedules as they are. If you make us, cut back on the flying that each pilot does, and we'll have to hire 30% more pilots. Where are we going to find 30% more pilots? They just don't exist. They're not out there. We've hired everybody in sight, and we've turned over every rock, and there's no pilots left. So the airlines, of course, were all crying foul and saying they couldn't do it. To which I say, well, you should have been planning for this 10 years ago. The Americans got on board 10 years ago, and they've managed just fine. They had a pilot shortage as well. They still, they don't anymore, but they still managed to implement it. The lack of pilots in the industry should not be a reason to have less safety in the industry. First of all, there's a big fallacy in the argument. Well, we can't do it economically. Well, that's not a good reason to argue against safety. There is a limit to how much money you can spend on safety, but certainly having people fly 14-hour duty days, having people fly 13, 14-hour duty days is a bit ridiculous. So, It frustrated me a little bit to to read those kind of responses and say, well, you guys should have seen this coming sooner and been readying for it sooner. Maybe change your own company policies. At the end of the day, the Transport Canada regulations are the lowest common denominator. They are the low criteria that everyone has to achieve. If a company itself wants to set a higher bar for itself internally, they can. They're more than allowed to. The regulations are the lowest bar. They are the minimum level that everybody must meet. And then if you can go above and beyond that, more power to you. So about 2 years ago, they were published finally, and then the whole country was given a 2-year implementation period. So that 2-year implementation period ends next month. Next month, there will be new duty regulations in Canada, and they are a bit complicated now compared to where they were before. Before, it was just 14 hours, and that was it. It was just an easy number for everyone to remember. There wasn't too much to it. When you start working from the scientific side of it, it becomes more complicated because there's a lot of factors that go into how tired is a human being. The factors include things like, obviously, how much sleep did you get the night before? What was your schedule like for the past week? Were you working a lot? Were you off a lot? Have you changed time zones lately? Are you working against your own internal clock? Did you get up really late yesterday and then we're asking you to get up early today? How many legs are you doing today? Because more than straight flying, it's the takeoffs and landings that take a lot of effort. A lot of planning goes into every takeoff. A lot of planning goes into every landing. If you do one long 8-hour leg like we're doing today, it is going to be tiring. But it's going to be more tiring to a person who did 8 hours of flying, but they did 4 legs. They did 4 takeoffs and landings instead of just one takeoff, cruise for 6.5 hours, and then get ready for another landing. So it becomes very complicated when you start to factor these things in. So I've been looking into it now because I've got to become more aware of it myself, and it is complicated at the end of the day. The basic regulations come down to there's two major determining factors that are going to determine how long a duty day a pilot is allowed to work in Canada, and the two factors basically are the number of sectors, the number of legs that you do in a day, and the start time. And the start time has a big impact, more even than the number of legs, because the number of legs is the same for 1 to 4, and it's only people who are flying a lot of short legs that are going 5 legs and more, where the duty time gets started getting reduced even more. So it's not going to affect too many pilots on the airline level, but what will affect it is the start times. And the start times vary, and the duty days vary from a low of, was it 8 or 9 hours? I had it here and I've lost it. But if you start in the middle of the night, you may be limited to as little as 8 hours of work before you have to be brakes on at the gate and getting ready to get out of the airplane and head to the hotel. 8 hours, which is a substantial decrease from the previous 14. But that is for the overnight window. That is, I forget the exact time, but I think it's for anybody who starts between like 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. You're limited to, it's either 8 or 9 hours. It might be 9. I don't have it in front of me right now. I was looking at it earlier, and I've put that down now. I've put it away. And then starting at 4 a.m., it goes up an hour for every hour later into the morning. So between 4 and 5, if you start between 4 and 5, you get a 9-hour day. If you start between 5 and 6, you get a 10-hour day. Start between 6 and 7, you get an 11-hour day. So if you're starting at like the peak human cognitive time, you can have a nice long day. If you're starting on the wrong side of the clock, if you're starting in the middle of the night, your day becomes more limited. So, and it will still go up to, I believe the high is 13 hours if you're starting between like 8 and 9 in the morning, which is like the perfect day. And then you can do a whole full 13 hours if you're starting between 8 and 9 and you're not doing more than 4 sectors on that day. Then you can do a full 13 hours. But anything else, starting anywhere outside of like that perfect time window or doing more than 4 sectors, and it's going to start cutting back on your duty time quite significantly. And this is going to be really good for a lot of people because there's a lot of people that work really, really tough shifts in aviation. And especially generally, ironically, it's usually the least experienced people who are also working the toughest shifts because of the way the airline bidding system works. Airline bidding is generally, at most companies, is done as a seniority bidding system, which means that the first person that was hired, it's usually done by date of hire. So the first person in the company that was hired, the person who's worked there the longest, will get to pick their schedule first. And after they've had the entire pick of their schedule, then the next person who started work at the company that's still there gets to pick their entire schedule, and so on and so forth. So usually it's the most recent hires, and are at the very bottom of the list, and they end up with the leftovers. They end up with whatever is schedules nobody else in the company wanted, which are usually the worst schedules. They're usually the overnight shifts, the very late night starts, the red eyes where you start on the west coast late in the evening and fly all night eastbound and land early in the morning on the east coast. Things like that, or stand-ups, where you take off, later in the evening, 8, 9, 10 p.m., go fly to some quiet outstation, do the late night flight in there, and then you hang out at the airport. Maybe you catch 3 hours of sleep in the back of the airplane if you're lucky, or 2 hours of sleep in the back of the airplane if you're lucky, but there's no prescribed rest period because it's less than a 14-hour day, so you'll just turn around and come right back, and it's still technically the same duty day. So you'll fly 3 hours, you'll sleep for maybe an hour or 2 at the outstation, and then fly 3 hours back at 5 in the morning and try to be awake enough to drive yourself home without killing yourself on the highway at the same time. And these are some of the things that have just been going on in the aviation industry for decades because the duty rules allowed it. But next month, that's going to change substantially for the better. Some of these impossible schedules are just not going to be legal anymore under the new duty rules, and pilots will have to get better rest periods. There's also rules about when your rest periods have to be and how restful they can be before you can shift your schedule. So asking someone to show up today at 4 in the afternoon and work till midnight, but then tomorrow show up at 9 a.m., that sort of thing will be a thing of the past. Or the opposite, show up today at 5 in the morning and then tomorrow stay up till 2 a.m. because you start out tomorrow at 4 p.m. Well, you got 12 hours of rest in between, but you can't change people's internal body clocks that quickly. Yeah, the internal body clock is a very powerful tool, and it's probably one of the biggest guidance factors in terms of determining whether a person's going to be alert when they're at work. Is what is their sleep schedule like? Is their work schedule conforming to their sleep schedule, and vice versa? And if it's changing quickly, are they going to be able to adapt to it? And for a long time, that was never a consideration for most companies. It was just simply, yep, we can do it because you got a 14-hour day here. You got the legal 10 hours at the, off work in between, and then tomorrow you're going to work 14 more hours. And it was legal. It was never a very good idea because you could just see it in people's eyes. You could hear it in their voices that they were just exhausted by the end of those days. But they were legal up until recently, and it disappointed me and disgusted me in this country that we took that long to get to this point. The rest of the world reached this point a decade or 2 decades ago. And here we are finally moving into the 21st century in terms of our duty time regulations. Canada was on par with, I think, 2 other countries. I think Bangladesh was one of them, and I forget what the other one was. There were only 2 other countries that had similar duty rules left next to Canada, and everyone else had finally moved into the 21st century, and we were still sitting here with this 20th century view on duty. Oh yeah, pilots are machines. They can just work for 14 hours, no problem. Oh yeah, we can change their schedule from morning to nights in a day, and they'll be fine. We'll just give them 10 hours at the hotel, and they'll be fine. They'll sleep for that whole 10 hours, and they'll be ready to go again. Like, it doesn't really, the human body doesn't function that way. We don't just change schedules from morning to afternoon instantly. Most people need a couple of days to adapt to a change like that. So that's going to be very interesting. It's going to change, I think, a lot of things in aviation. Not going to be really very evident to people outside the industry, but people working within the industry, it's going to be very different. The schedules are going to be constructed differently because of these new limitations that are going to be imposed upon them, and people may not be happy with them at first, but that's going to be the nature of the business, I think, at this point. People have gotten very used to the schedules they had. And for better or for worse, they were very used to it, used to making the most of it. Now, the way the schedules are going to be formatted is going to change quite dramatically in 1 month from where it was before. So, and the other part is that every pilot, every employer has an obligation to make sure that their employees are not fatigued, that they are not violating any of these rules, but every pilot as well has a personal duty to also monitor the company and notify them if the rules are being violated in any way. The companies are not perfect. They generally have tracking systems to try and track these things, but it's possible for things to fall through the cracks, especially when days start going sideways. Maybe you're approaching the end of the duty day and your crew scheduling department's not aware of it because they just the day fell apart and they have 1,000 things on their plate, 1,000 flights canceled, rearranged, delayed, and they're trying to find people to fill gaps in the schedule quickly, and they may not be able to track every single person all the time. So sometimes the onus is upon the pilot as well to make sure to notify their crew scheduling department whether or not they are going to be able to finish the day that has been planned for them with the time that remains. So it's going to become a lot more difficult. It used to be easy. You count 12 hours. You start with 12 hours from where you started and count 2 more hours past that. So if you started at 2 a.m., 2 p.m. plus 2 is 4 p.m. And that would be it. That's your day right there. But now it's gonna be a complicated matrix based on mostly the time you start at, and that's gonna make it a lot more. You're not gonna be able to instantly come up with a number. I'm personally planning on making a little cheat sheet and basically tucking it in with my license and just being able to pull it out and just have the start times, the finish times, and the limits, and just be able to refer to that very quickly and easily, because it's just complicated now. It's getting incredibly complicated. It's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against these regulations. I think they're well long overdue. I think you can probably tell from everything I've said so far. But it's just going to make it a lot more complicated. We're not going to be able to do the calculations usually very quickly on our head. We're going to have to pull out a sheet and examine the ramifications, examine the details of what's going down. So it's going to be a different world, but it's something that's long overdue. The fact that Canada lagged so far behind for so long is just it's a national shame for us. It really is, and they just Transport Canada, for whatever reason, dragged their heels for a long time. I think they had pressure from a lot of the operators to not make too many changes at once, and depending on who you ask, that the changes are good or bad. Some pilots, most of the pilots agree that they are good to a degree, but a lot of pilots also agree that they don't go far enough, that we are still, even with these new regulations, we'll still be behind most of our peers in the Western world in terms of what's allowable. We'll still have longer days than most of our peers, but better to take at least a small victory for the time being and hope we can move forward even further than to just, take no change and still continue with the 14-hour duty day for who knows how long until someone makes an even better regulation. So there's more to it than that too. It's also about the rest periods you get in between flights, and every so often pilots are required to have a longer rest period. So you've got your sort of minimum rest period of usually it's about 10 hours, which gives you just enough time to go home, sleep, shower, shave, repack your bag and come back to work as an absolute minimum. But if you were to do 10 hours in between every single flight you ever worked, you'd be exhausted. So there's also a requirement every 7 days or every 14 days to have either after 7 days have a day and a half off work, 36 hours off work, or every 14 days to have a 3-day period off work, just as a recharge, just to keep you from working too hard, too much, too long. And even those ones, that's the current regulations, even those are shifting now. And I was reading them, honestly I've forgotten them. I've got to study up on these really to make sure that they're all top of mind when it comes down to it. As I said, the companies all have an obligation to try and not schedule us in any way that violates the rules, but we also, as pilots, have an obligation to also monitor that the company is doing it properly, to monitor that we are not reporting for work when we are either physiologically fatigued or legally fatigued per the regulations. And if we do see any violations coming up, then we're obligated to notify our company so that they can take appropriate action. It's going to be a learning curve for all of us. For a while, I think, for quite a few months at the very least, because it's going to be a very different regime from what existed before. But it's a move in the right direction. It's something we've needed to do for a long time, and it's a very good thing that we're finally moving in that direction. It'll just take some time for us all to get there. The one silver lining of this whole scenario right now is the fact that because Canada is implementing this during the COVID-19 pandemic, there's actually such a surplus of pilots suddenly in the market that didn't exist 9 months ago, that most of the airlines will not have a problem adapting their schedules to this new reality in the immediate near future. They may have to recall some people that have been laid off to help beef up their ranks by, again, 20 to 30%, but even then they may not need that, because what I've seen and heard from most of the airlines is that most people are generally flying shorter days because there's so few flights that are actually being flown by most of the airlines. Most of the airlines have cut their schedules by 70-80%. Even every time a pilot comes to work, they're usually flying a lot less than they did before. They're very, very, very rarely are we going anywhere close to the maximum 14-hour days. We're most of the time we're doing 8-hour days and calling it a day, or sometimes even less than that. I had a day yesterday that was 2.5 hours. It was one flight was all we had to do yesterday. So a lot of these days have gotten a lot shorter because there's not as many flights, and airlines are trying to sort of keep as many pilots on staff as they reasonably think they can afford to. Nobody wants to lay off their pilots. No airline wants to lay off their pilots. It's a sad day when you have to lay off any employees. No company wants to shrink. Even the most selfish company in the world doesn't want to shrink, and anytime you're laying off employees, it's probably a sign that something's not going well in the company. And it's an unfortunate reality of the modern age we find ourselves in 2020. The situation we are in 2020, airlines had way more employees than the suddenly vanished travel demand needed, and so I think the airlines held off as long as they could. They kept their fingers crossed that, we're hoping that in a couple of months it'll all sort of blow over and we'll be back to normal. And it just obviously didn't happen that way. Here we are 9 months into this pandemic, and there's no end in sight. Not even close. We're topping the second, or depending on the country, the third wave. So it's unfortunate that so many airlines had to lay off as many pilots as they did. My heart goes out to all of you guys, because I was laid off for a period of time, and it was, for me, I was lucky that it was only short. But that uncertainty of what's going to come next and what's going to happen next, I feel that pain. So to all my pilot brethren out there, I really, every day I go to work, I am grateful. I am grateful that I am still one of the lucky ones who is employed, and my heart goes out to all of you that are facing unemployment, possibly 6 months into unemployment now for some of you and more. And I hope that you guys have found something out there to get you through until this industry makes a comeback, because it's a bleak prospect for the next couple of years, anyways, for a lot of people in this business. And certainly, most of the layoffs are going to last longer than most people can afford them to, without finding some other source of income in the meantime. So I hope my heart goes out to all of you guys that are out there that have been let go, and I hope that you found something to at least get you by. I hope you've got support from people that you need, from people that can support you, the people that are important to you out there, and I hope that we will be getting more of you back on board with us sooner rather than later. As I said, every day that I go to work, I'm grateful that I am still employed and that I'm still working. And I hope that you'll be joining our ranks again soon. Took a little bit of a turn there, didn't it, from my original rant about duty day issues, but anyways. Alright, so Moncton logged off. We would be about halfway through Moncton Center's airspace right now, but not too much going on there. So next is Montreal. Are we zoomed out fully there? Yeah, we're zoomed out fully. So we've got Taffy, and then after that I believe we are direct to Beauce, which is Victor Lima Victor. About 83% done here. Go to my live map briefly. Here we are halfway across the Gulf of St. Lawrence. We're just kind of skirting the edge of Montreal's airspace, but not really. We're going to pass through Boston airspace after we leave Moncton, and then it's thinking about it. There it is. And then just before we get to Beauce, we'll cross from Boston airspace into Montreal's airspace, and hopefully they will still be online when we get there for our arrival into Montreal. But that is about 30 to 45 minutes. Alright, let's just get rid of that, because that moving map, it's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing to look at, but it's a processor-intense beautiful thing. So I tend to, if I'm not using it, I just at least switch off the movie map page. So Beauce. Time estimated over Beauce is pretty much 1 hour from now, 1843 Zulu. We are going to step away for probably about 40 minutes here, 40 to 45 minutes, round about 1830 Zulu. We'll come back, and we'll finish this up. Oh, and Phil was there. I didn't even see that note from Phil. He said, "How's the 330 behaving these days?" Rewind to the early part of my stream to find out, as I ranted about it. But the long and short of it is, Phil, I think you're not watching anymore, judging by the number of viewers. But if you are still watching, Phil, it's working for me right now. Fingers crossed. Hopefully not jinxing myself there. Usually if I've made it this far, it's usually a pretty good sign that it probably will make it the rest of the way to Montreal. But it has, again, it's been 50-50 with this airplane, and it's driven me nuts. So, not always happy with it, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think he's gone. Anyways, as I said, stepping away for the last time, I promise. I know it's been on and off, but it's a long time to sit here for 8 hours, to talk to you guys for 8 hours. Oh, Phil is watching still. Oh, Phil might have an idea on how to fix my 330 for me. Oh, you'll have to let me know, sir. If is it software related? Am I gonna have to reinstall Windows again? Because I'm not doing that again. I can't do it again. No. Okay, good. He says no. I can't do another reinstall of Windows. It seemed to make it a little bit better. It's an option in the 330 configurator, and see, I think I toyed with the options. But Phil, bring it on, because I've got my 330 configurator open here from when I navigraphed it up this morning. Right now I've got Force Ecam rendering on, which is supposed to force it more onto the CPU than the GPU, because my CPU is supposed to be the more powerful of my two processors. I don't think Realistic Company Root would do anything, unless it's just... yeah, Force Ecam software rendering, turn it off. Turn it off, he says. Okay. I'm not sure if it's going to do anything at this point now, because we're halfway through the flight. I might have to wait until it relaunches to see if it does anything. Alright, it's off now. I'll try some flights over the next week on this airplane and see if it runs any better. Because my GPU is not bad, but my CPU is more powerful, so I always thought that using the eCam software rendering, it does it in the CPU. I thought that would be a better option for me. But yeah, let me know how it goes for you, Phil, because I would love to fly this airplane more often. I was saying it earlier in my stream, but I think I'm gonna pull the plug on Transat after this flight is over, because this airplane gives me ulcers now when I try to fly it, especially when I try to fly it on a live stream and I get an hour and a half into the live stream. And then, you know, and I set aside like a good 8-hour chunk a day to do a long haul flight in the live stream, and then the plane dies an hour and a half in, and it just drives me up the wall, and it's time wasted, you know. Of course, the only thing worse than having it happen an hour and a half in would be to have it happen 7.5 hours in. But yes, drives me up the wall. And it like I said, it stresses me out flying this airplane. Just even talking about it right now is getting me stressed out now about this thing, and hoping that it's not going to crash. I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to run okay till we get to the destination. I really don't want to screw with it anymore now. I really don't. You know, I don't want to touch the flight plan any more than I have to. I'll reconfigure the arrivals if I have to, and I'll put it in the landing performance, but I don't even want to touch the FMS anymore. I want to just let this airplane fly, do what it's doing, because it seems to be doing okay at it. And that's it, you know. I don't want to mess with anything that might possibly overload the FMS and let it crash. Phil says stop stressing. Easy for you to say. You're not live streaming this whole thing. Oh, I would just give up on this if it crashed right now. I would have to give up on this and sub in a 777. But yeah, I am seriously considering. Right now on my pilot's life, I have my 5 offers, and I can't show it because it won't let me flip out the flight screen. But WestJet is one of the companies that currently has a job on offer to me, and I think I would like to take WestJet because I think that would be a good company to work for. A very diverse set of locations throughout Canada and the United States. A little tiny bit of long haul flying, but I might even do that in MSFS with the lousy default Dreamliner. I might try and take that one out for some long haul flying. Under the WestJet banner. So I'm thinking WestJet at this point, out of the 5 I have there, would be a good choice. The other ones are Jazz, which I don't have the RJ, so there's no point in flying for Jazz. Are you nuts? Yes, I know the Dreamliner is really junky. But the odds of me, I also look at it this way too. The odds of me getting a Dreamliner flight out of all the WestJet flights, out of the entire WestJet network, are pretty slim to nil. At the end of the day, are almost nil. You know, they have 100 something 737s and only like 3 Dreamliners. So I have like probably about a 1 to 2% chance of landing a flight that includes a Dreamliner schedule in it. So that's there as kind of the outlying option. I'm not going to bother with the Quality Wings 87 at this point because to me there's no point. You know, P3D is I don't want to say it's a dying platform, but in my use, it's beginning to be a dying platform. Its days, I think, for me, are numbered. As more and more of the good airplanes transition over to MSFS, I will be making less and less use of this platform. Even now, I use it. I probably fly it only about 30 to 40% of the time, and then 60 to 70% is in Flight Simulator right now. So I'm also kind of keeping it in that long-range plan too, that I could stay at WestJet for a little while, fly a bunch of short-haul flights, and in the hopes that the Quality Wings 87 releases sometime, maybe first quarter next year. I can see that happening. Maybe then I would be on board with that. So that's sort of my whole overall strategy of why I think in the long run the 787 WestJet is a good option for me at this point in my pilot's life career, while I build up a few more hours and make myself perhaps more appealing to a few more higher end airlines. I wouldn't mind maybe flying for Delta or American or some of the other major American carriers, but for now, WestJet I think it's going to be better than Air Transat too, because I think it's just a more variety. Air Transat it's become a bit repetitive. I kind of go to a similar set of destinations. I kind of go to the the sun destinations, and Europe is pretty much it. Like this whole season was what? It was Fort Lauderdale, it was San Juan, or was San Juan last season? San Juan might have even been last season. Fort Lauderdale, Punta Cana. Yeah, I think San Juan was this season. I think Orlando was last season, or one or the other. You know, but basically all fairly similar routings. So I feel like I've kind of... Transat is going to start become a really big rut for me if I don't take a step back and do something else. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think I've had... Transat has been fun. It was a neat change of pace, certainly from flying the Dash 8 for Encore. Very different change of pace. But I think it's time to go to something that doesn't stress me out, and for now the 330 stresses me out, so I'm done with it. We're gonna finish this flight and I'm done with that 330. Yeah. So I think that's it for now. Like I said, I'm gonna step away for about the next 40 minutes, a little bit before we get to Beauce. Hopefully Montreal Center will still be there. I'm hoping. He's still there right now. The only problem with that is he's probably put in about 3 hours now, so he's probably kind of reaching the point where he's thinking about logging off now. It's a weekend, so people don't have as much to do, but it's reaching that point where he might log off soon. So here's hoping he's there when I get to Beauce, but either way, I've got to be here for the descent, so I'm going to step off the flight deck, go grab myself some lunch, and we'll come back. Let's see, again, go back here because I've already forgotten. Beauce, we said 1844, so I'm going to say probably no later than 1830 for the last time. Out of the flight deck, back in the flight deck by 1830. And come back then, and we'll chat more as we set up for that descent into Montreal, and get ready to finish up season 4 of my career here on The Pilot's Life. I posted a lot of videos to YouTube under this Twitch streaming banner here, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'll see you guys all back in just over half an hour. Stay tuned, and we'll see you all then. back in the flight deck, and I think very shortly here we're going to be into Montreal Centre's airspace. Is he still online? He is. Wow. I was skeptical for a while there because it was a long period of time. I did not think that we were necessarily going to have Montreal still online by the time we got there, but we might just have them. So unless he logs off in the next little minute, next few minutes, which is always possible. We've just left Moncton airspace. We're just entering into Boston's airspace here. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at my other screen here and I'm describing what I see, but I could just bring this across and show you guys what I'm actually seeing here. Sometimes I'm just not the best streamer in the world. There we are. Okay, Transat 649. Just crossed past Edmundston. Just leaving Moncton Centre behind us, entering Boston Centre airspace, and in about less than 10 minutes we will be into Montreal's airspace for our final approach into Montreal. So while we're at it, before he disappears on us potentially, let's pull up some information about Montreal today. So going into my VPilot, pulling up the current ATIS here in Montreal. Have a quick little look here, guys. It's Information X-ray, 1800 Zulu, so yeah, it's pretty recent. 260 at 14, 15 miles, 20,000 broken, temperature 19. 7th day of November, and it's 19 degrees in Montreal. What a beautiful couple of days out there. 2.10 altimeter, 3009er. We should definitely set that. I could do that. No, it's not. I thought it was always on top, but it's not. So that's okay. 3009er. Oh, it won't go any lower than that. That's fine. It's close enough. 3010 because it's in hectopascals. If I do this, actually. That was not how that was supposed to play out. That's how that's supposed to play out. And then I can do 3009. There we go. Alright. Yeah. And what was the rest of it there? So the rest of it, approach ILS runway 24 right. Departures runway 24 right. Runway 206 right, 24 left, closed until further advised. When landing on 24 right, planning exit Bravo 2. Huh. Okay. I don't usually have 24 right open very much at all these days, but okay. I guess it's open today. So that'll require a little change. Not much of a change, but a little change here. So we'll go in here. Hope that this will not bomb our arrival here, but arrivals. 24 right. Yeah, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to put something else in here. So we're going to put Carter 3 in here just for now. No transition, and it's... Oh, actually, you know what? That's not going to work either. Yeah, that's very bad. There we go. Okay, we will fix it in a second here. That's the one thing that does not work well here, so... Sure, Alouette 1, I don't care. Pick any arrival to break it, and then, because you have to fix both of them at the same time, or it just doesn't seem to want to work properly. Alright, so ILS to runway 24 right, via the Ombre 6 arrival and the Beauce transition. And now, we should be, our flight plan should be to Beauce. If it's not, and I don't think it is, because somehow it screwed up and then it didn't fix itself, and I don't understand sometimes how this thing doesn't fix itself. That's the... I don't know if that's an Airbus thing or if that's just the way the Aerosoft one is written, that it doesn't quite fix itself properly, but it doesn't like to fix itself properly. So there we go. So now we're back to direct Beauce the way we should be. Should never have done that little turn there, and I should have put it in heading mode when I suspected things were not going to go well. Oh well. Anyways. Here we go for the last little bit of our arrival. We also need some performance data. Now that we've got the correct runway set, performance data, and for this we're also going to need some chart data. So for the approach, as I said, we have 19 beautiful degrees out there. And 30.09 for our QNH. And the other thing I'm going to need on here is, we're going to start pulling up the charts. Montreal. Don't need Nice anymore. I left Nice far behind. What we are going to need is CYUL. Montreal. There we go. And our arrival today is the Ombre 6. Add that to the knee board. And where's the approaches? Approaches. ILS to runway 24 right. Add that to the knee board. Okay, and I could probably actually get rid of all this stuff from Nice because we're not going back there. At 7 hours and 3,000 miles behind us, we are not going back there. Montreal, Ombre, 8 RNAV, arrival. Alright, I believe we got everything in there. And yes, the one thing I wanted, of course, to finish the performance data properly was I need the minimums. It's 306. So, 306 barrow mins. And we're going to do it as a flap 3 landing because we've got to roll all the way down to Bravo 2 anyway, so there's no point in doing anything much less than that. And there we go. I think that's it. We're set up for the straight-in ILS to runway 24 right. We'll go through it all to make sure it's all there, but we've got everything configured. Because we're going to pretty much start down before we, just around the point where we enter Montreal's airspace is where we're going to start down, give or take. That's the point where we enter Montreal's airspace. Alright, give me 1 second, guys. I just got to step out for 1 second. Didn't think I would have to step out of the flight deck again, but apparently I did, so. And of course, while I was gone, then Montreal Center sends me to contact me while I'm gone. Wasn't really planning to step out of the flight deck again, but here we go. That's why streaming on Saturdays does not usually work well for me, because there's too much other stuff happening that is often too distracting. Anyways, there we go. Montreal Center, good afternoon. Transat 649er, flight level tree 6, correction, flight level tree 80.
Transat 649er, good afternoon, route squawk 0364.
0364 coming up, Transat 649er, thank you. Alright, 0364, and then we can finish our...
The 649er identified. Proceed direct Ombre, expect runway 24 right at Montreal.
Okay, direct to Ombre and expect 24 right in Montreal. We have information X-ray, Transat 649er.
Roger.
Alright, direct to Ombre. That's going to cut me quite a bit off of this arrival here. Cut that corner off substantially.
14, continue right turn heading to 20, train delocalizer clear for the LS approach runway.
There we go, and that actually reduces some of my crossing restrictions, so then it's just straight in. And also cuts, I don't know how much time that cut off. That seemed to add extra time. Must still be recalculating. Or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe that is the time. That strong headwind is really kind of doing us in too. I think we're going to have to start down sooner than later. We're about less than 40 miles from top of descent. Let's start down now, because that'll just get us out of this wind at least. And Montreal Transat 649er, I'd like to start our descent, please.
Transat 649er, altimeter at Montreal 3009, when ready descent 8000.
Our discretion all the way down to 8,000, Transat 649er. Alright, 8,000. Into managed mode, this should just do 1,000 feet per minute until we actually catch the preset VNAV path, which is fine because that'll just at least get us somewhat out of this wind. It's turned to be quite a lot there. We have got a ground speed of 410 on a true speed of 480, so we got 70 knot headwind component. Yeah, if we can start descending out of that sooner than later, even if it just reduces slowly, that will help us in the long run, get there just a little bit sooner, you know? Okay, so I never really got the descent briefing because I got interrupted there right when I was just about to do it. So, speeds are in, and we're going to say that the distances are checked. It's a good 10,000 feet, I think, on 24 right in Montreal. 11,000 feet, actually. So 11,000 feet. So, yeah, we got lots of room there to stop. The star is the Ombre 8 RNAV arrival. I'm just going to close this right up here so I can see a little better what's going on over here. 10-2 Golf and effective on the 6th.
Airnav 414, winds at Montreal 26.14, clear to land on
the 5th of November of 2020. That plate was revised today. Changes procedure renumbered. Doesn't say why it's the Ombre 8 now. It just is the Ombre 8. Doesn't say anything about what's changed. So let's read the plate carefully to make sure nothing importance has changed here. So RNAV 1 DDI or GNSS is required. Safe altitude within 100 miles is 7,400. That's still the same. Non-GNSS aircraft, that's not really us. And 6 left, 6 right, also not applicable to us. We're on our way to Ombre. From Ombre, we're going to go to Okapo. Then we're going to go to Mare. For the straight in, it's between 4 and 10. So we got Ombre, Okapo, Mare between 4 and 10. It looks like we got, I believe that says, it's so small it's hard to see sometimes, but it says 61 there. So we're going to cross Mare at 6,100. It meets that restriction. And then from there for the right side, Lona. There's Lona, where we will decelerate and we'll intercept the ILS. And losing a little bit of headwind here, 92 knots. Getting a little bit better. For the approach, which will be the ILS to runway 24 right in Montreal. 11-4 effective today, the 5th of November of 2020. Everything's changing today. Charts renumbered. Chart re-indexed. I wonder why they're re-indexing it. It means they're usually, if it's re-indexed, it means they're either adding or removing charts from Montreal. I wonder if they're adding or they're removing. curious. Anyways, if that's all that is to it, that's not a big deal. 11-4, 5th of November. That was 2 days ago anyways, but it's pretty much brand new. Loc, IZZ 111.9er. Should be auto-tuned with an inbound course of 237 for Montreal, so let's have a look here. Track IR, come on, you can do better than this. No, it really does not like that. It does not. I'm too far out of its range of vision at that point, so let's just do that really quickly. There, now it's going to be able to, there we go. IZZ 111.9er in the inbound course 237 with a slope of -3 degrees programmed in.
Ready to taxi.
Glide slope at Volax 1520.
Blue 69 ultimate at Montreal 3009 and
1530.
East line north.
Close enough for this. Close enough for what we're doing here. And the ILSDA is again 306. We've got that set. Touchdown zone at 106 feet, and we can check that if we want on the pressurization screen. The cabin is descending slowly with a target landing field elevation of 100 feet. That works. It's usually always rounded to just 100-foot intervals, so that's fine. Missed approach is climb to 3,000 feet straight ahead on the heading of 237, then a right turn direct to the Montreal VOR. Let's just see if that's in there. After 24 right, it is straight ahead 3,000 feet, and then a right turn to YUL. YUL, which is the Montreal VOR. The MSAs are highest northwest of the field at 3,300. That's actually based on the Montreal VOR, which is well over here to the northwest. RVR 2600 or 1/2 mile. Is required. It's a beautiful VMC day. It should not be an issue from that perspective, from the visibility perspective, and that's it for the approach, the taxi in. So we're going to plan to vacate on Bravo 2. There is no taxiway left here at Echo. Again, the chart is new as of today. Let's see what it says. Intersection departures, runway 6 left, 6 right, 24 left, 24 right, stopways, operational notes, and hotspot 8 added. So hotspot 8 is way down here. We now have intersection departure distances, not really applicable for the landing, so that's all good. And Echo has now been rendered pretty much invisible here. And Bravo 2 is the planned exit where we're going to taxi Foxtrot into the apron. We're going to park somewhere here on the international wing in the 50s and 68s. That's about it. Oh, and here comes the VNAV path, I think. Yeah, it looked at just the right time, so it's going to start really pitching down here because we still got 90 knots on the nose. That early descent didn't really take too much off of our headwind. Yeah, so that's it for those. Terrain, again, 3,300 is the highest MSA around the Montreal VOR. Weather is a beautiful day. Light winds down the pipe. Close to down the pipe anyways, 260 at 14. And operational, no MELs. We're going to check the NOTAMs quickly before we go too far into anything else here. It might have to change something in our briefing. Really, I should be smart. I should be checking the NOTAMs before I do the briefing because it can affect the contents of the briefing. But anywho. Alright, let's do this. Destination. So Swissport fueling, Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Alpha 4, Alpha. The low-vis procedure is not authorized. That's fine. It's not low-vis day. Runway 1028. It's not authorized anything. 6 right, 24 left closed. Constantly switching back and forth. There's always one of them closed. You can never keep track of which one's going to be, though. 1028 closed. Available taxiway. Approach lighting 6 right and 24 left. Runway lighting 6 right, 24 left. That's fine. Approaches LaFleur 6 arrival. That doesn't affect us. I'll just approved it to 6 right, 24 left. 24 left, 24 right, Loc DME minima, that's not us. ILS Cat 26 left, not authorized. And ILS 10 unserviceable, so there we go. So that's it. So no NOTAMs affecting us. Fuel, we need 6,000 to go to Ottawa. I think we've said it about a dozen times so far. It's currently still showing a little over 10 when we get to Montreal. So still showing at least 4,000 extra. I can hang out for definitely 15-20 minutes, do a go-around or two before we have to really consider going to our alternate of Ottawa. And that's it. Oh, I never really did ask him. Are you ready for the approach briefing?
Ready?
Any questions?
Okay, that's checked, and no questions.
Alright. And I guess we should do descent checklist.
Checked.
Lufthansa 48.
Oh, there is no descent checklist in this airplane. It goes straight to the approach checklist. Okay, good. It's fine. Everything we need is good. Alright.
And Lufthansa 484, what's your name?
There goes our descent rate as we're chasing that VNAV path now, that green dot path down. Landing in 20 minutes at this rate. So if anybody's watching and anybody's got anything to chat about for 20 minutes, we got about 20 minutes to talk. Well, we got a little bit less than that because we really should be sterile flight deck below 10,000, so we got about 15 minutes to talk.
244, contact transfer center
12 to 15 minutes before we hit the ground there, so, or 12 to 15 minutes before we hit the sterile light on, so.
Over to Toronto Center on 125.775, thanks.
Sounds like a busy afternoon in Montreal, though. Definitely sounds like a busy afternoon. Happy to have so much ATC online. I've got to say, like this, for a long-haul flight, this is definitely, I think, the best ATC we have had online yet for any of my long-haul flights on my Twitch streams here. We had full Oceanic coverage from one end to the other. We had Eurocontrol, and we had Shannon. And here we have Montreal for the arrival. The only thing we were really missing was a departure control, tower, or even leaving Nice. But here we're going to have it all the way to the ground. It's pretty impressive.
4 foot, 1-4, short of Bravo.
Not too often you can say that you get. We've probably had a good, solid 6 hours of ATC. But guys, I mean, next week, 1 week from today, it's across the pond. If you're online about 1 week from today, it'll be half over already. Yeah, next Saturday, November 14th, cross the pond, eastbound. If you don't have a booking already, you're probably too late. I hate to say it. So if you don't have a booking and your controller, come out and control for us, because we could always use the help. The network is going to be as busy as it ever is that day, and we probably are going to set some records. If you don't have a slot, I'd stay away from the transatlantic routes. Fly some short hops between the airports, between the different departure airports, or between the different arrival airports while the ATC is online. If you don't have a slot, don't try to get on the Oceanic segments, because they're going to be kind of enforcing, I think, this year, trying to keep people away from the Oceanic and certainly the controlled routes, because it's too many airplanes, too many random airplanes year after year. Again, not that anybody in VATSIM doesn't want to support as many people as they can, but there's just a physical, cognitive limit to what each controller can handle, and if you put too many planes on their plate, the whole thing just falls apart. So, probably this year, as it happened, I think, in the spring this year, anybody who's not on a slot will probably not have ATC for the transatlantic portion. So my best suggestion, if you don't have a slot, and I don't know if they've awarded them yet, but if you don't get a slot when they're awarded, just plan on doing a few local flights. Do a handful of local flights. Go, pick the departure airports you like and go between them. Go Toronto to Atlanta. Go Chicago to Boston. I can't remember what all the airports were. There's quite a few this year, so you'll get a good choice. You can do a couple, and you'll definitely have some good ATC from one end to the other between these airports, because there'll be enough en route ATC dealing with cross the pond traffic. So guys, yeah, if you don't get a slot, don't try to fly across the pond. Throw some random other traffic out there. The controllers, I think, will enjoy it more than just the constant long hard slog against all this transoceanic traffic. The occasional random flight kind of provides a nice little spice on top of what's otherwise a really busy, heavy workload. And ditto for the arrival field. Go fly from London down to, I think, Vienna, or Barcelona up to Amsterdam, or whatever. I'm not trying to pick particular airports I'm fond of. I'm just trying to think of the ones I know off the top of my head. But go out there and fly some short haul flights between two different departure airfields, and then go fly a short haul flight between two different arrival airfields. You'll have the same fun. You'll get the impact of being online with full wall-to-wall ATC and wall-to-wall traffic without overloading the Oceanic sectors that usually just are so overwhelmed with 1,000 people and their control at a time. It's unfeasible for them to handle it. But please, guys, please participate. And if you're a controller and certified in anywhere close to any of the routes, or if you're Oceanic certified, come on out and control, because more than pilots, and the event wouldn't succeed without pilots, but we never have a shortage of pilots. We always have a shortage of qualified controllers. So get out there and control if you can. Unfortunately, if you're not already qualified, you're not going to get qualified anywhere in a week at this point. Because they'll be looking for the veterans. They'll be looking for the people who know. They'll be looking for the people who know the procedures well to do them because it's such a crazy, hectic day. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm enthused and excited to see what happens across the pond. I think it's going to be great this year. I'll be curious to see how some of the traffic management initiatives they've taken this year will impact the event overall. Probably end up with some unsatisfied people who don't have slots and really want to fly across the pond. And I feel for you guys, and I really do. And I can't apologize for you know, if your requests are denied, because it's just simply a case of the volume overloading the system. And that's why I say fly the short haul flights, because it's usually the airports are not as overloaded as the en route sectors. The airports can usually handle it because there's such a clear division of duties, and each plane deals with each controller at the airports for only a couple of minutes. You spend a couple of minutes with ground, 5 or 10 minutes with ground. You spend like 3 minutes with the tower. You spend 5 minutes with the departure controller, and then you're up with the center controllers who are getting the heavy workload. So fly a random route. The chances are you'll get in and out of those airports. Getting the clearance will probably be the hardest thing for you. So if I had a suggestion, maybe even start somewhere that's not an event field. Fly to an event field. You'll still feel and experience the traffic, but you won't have to wait 40 minutes just to get your clearance. And pack on extra fuel, guys. Don't run out of fuel. Whatever the fuel load is you need for this, add an hour, because you're going to need it with en route delays and everything else vectoring.
On course.
5 level 340 to Blue 16.
And to Blue 16, passing 3000 to Canada on course.
.3009 set.
3009 cross-checked, passing 16,000.
He's going to say now in about 60 seconds. 30 seconds. Oh, well, whatever. Getting close. I don't think it's snowy out there. P3D, I think you got it wrong. I think it's actually Orbex. I think it's actually Orbex textures at this point, because I have global vector, or I have open land class, and I have FTX global. So these are probably Orbex textures. But it's not snowy out there today because it's 19 degrees out there in Montreal. And there's the 16,000 he said now. 16 degrees in Montreal, like ridiculous. Ridiculously warm. 19 degrees, I should say. 19 degrees for the 7th of November. Normally you're dealing with, there's a good chance you're dealing with snow by this point. Maybe not heavy snow, but definitely some on and off light snow showers here and there. And for it to be 19 degrees out there, beautiful, beautiful day. Don't know why I'm in here simming. I should be outside too, enjoying it, and I will be. We are 15 minutes or less from arrival, and once we arrive, we will be enjoying the rest of the day out of doors for sure. I heard it on the radio, and it's actually a fantastic suggestion. Somebody suggested, hey, you should take this week of really nice weather, because it's been really nice for about 4 days now. Like up into the 20s every day, or up into the high teens, I should say, every day, almost reaching 20 a couple times. Go put up the Christmas lights. Because how nice is it to put up the Christmas lights on a beautiful day and not freeze your fingers trying to manipulate light bulbs and cords and everything else on a cold, on a cold 5-degree day. So you go out there when it's in the teens and it's like, oh, it's beautiful out here. I don't even need a jacket on to work out here, let alone gloves. Great. It's not a half bad idea. If I was off tomorrow, I might do it tomorrow, but I'm not. I have to go to work tomorrow. Otherwise, I would seriously consider doing those Christmas lights tomorrow, because they need to get done. Christmas is going to come one way or another. Might as well do it while the weather's warm. You don't even have to turn them on. Just put them all in place, and then you can start turning them on once it gets a little closer to Christmas itself. But at least get them up there while the weather's still nice. Yeah, I'm off on Monday. Might do it on Monday. Alright, we are almost there.
And press landing 604, you're leaving Gander domestic is offline, Montreal, income 1228, safe flight. Manager 126, you're leaving the Gander domestic is offline, Montreal, income 1228, safe flight.
Alright.
Switching the
South shore of Quebec, a lot of farm fields and stuff here, but we're getting there pretty quickly now.
Unicom on 122.8 to enter.
And you can just see the rivers off there in the distance.
Bye.
We are going to be online very soon here.
United 2015, you are leaving East Mountain Center offline, Mountain the Unicom 1228, safe flight.
And we're just about to hit the deceleration point here. That pink dot on there is the deceleration waypoint. We're going to decelerate to 250 knots for a 10,000 foot crossing. Oh, so close to the end now. It's been a long voyage, but wow, and just so wonderful to have wall-to-wall ATC. It's such a rarity. Wasn't quite wall-to-wall for me, but it's been most of this crossing. I was kind of excited to do it on a Saturday because I don't usually stream on Saturdays, and I was excited to do it on a Saturday just because I thought, hey, I might actually get some good ATC. I was a little disappointed I didn't get any ATC leaving Europe until I got Euro control about halfway across Europe, but still. Alright, and so it's got another VNAV path that wants us to intercept shortly here as we decelerate. We're about 1,400 feet below the path. Slowly converging, and the speed is coming back at a nice rate too. It told me to use the speed brake, but I think this is going to work out just fine. I don't think we need the speed brake yet.
Montreal Center, American Stern 72 is descending to 11,000.
I think it's all working out just right. I guess we should.
American 772, good afternoon.
Signal them and
expect runway 24 right at Montreal. Current altitude
approach checklist.
Okay, approach checklist. Briefing?
Complete. Confirmed.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Seat belts.
On. On.
Paro ref.
3009 set.
3009 set. MDA DH.
306 feet set.
306 feet set. Engine mode selector.
Norm.
Alright, approach checklist is complete.
Very good. There goes Ombre. Look up on there. You can just see the St. Lawrence coming into view here shortly. Oh, it's so satisfying to see this flight almost done.
$10,000.
Checked. Got the landing lights on. Excellent. They signal the flight in the cabin. It's just sitting there at idle thrust, just a little bit below the 250 mark. That's okay. That's okay. We're getting there. We lost most of the headwind now. We got about 40 knots still on the nose, but what can you do? We're almost there anyways. We're still moving at a good 4 miles a minute, so still doing pretty good. See, the trouble is I'm pretty sure that this aircraft is planned. 9 descending 8, check. I'm pretty sure this aircraft is planned a continuous descent from all the way down to Lona. An idle descent at 250. If we don't get the continued descent here until we get to close to Mare, which would normally be the case, we'll probably need some speed brake to assist that descent down.
Contact 649, descent 4,000 via Lona, clear for the LS approach on 24 right.
Thank you, descend 4,000 and cleared via Lona, cleared ILS 24 right, Transat 649er. localizer up. Loc glide slope armed, and 4,000 feet is set. And I don't believe there's any speed restrictions on these charts, but let's just double check again. I don't believe there's any speed restrictions. No speed restrictions on the arrival. There's us on the arrival. And on the approach, nothing on the approach either. So yeah, we're good. There's us slowly approaching the point for the approach. Alright, so we're going to hit 4,000. Right about there, and then we'll
American 770
level off. I think if we hit Lona at 4,000, I think that'll just get us on the glide slope perfectly. So we'll probably make sure we decelerate before we hit Lona, because this great brute of an airplane does not like to slow down. I've found that in the past. The 330 does not like to slow down very much. She is a bit of a dog in that respect. And really, to me, as a pilot, as a captain, the speed brake is a great tool. I avoid using it as much as possible because it's generally an indication that you haven't planned something well. Now, if things change at the last minute, of course, you know, use it when you need to. But if you're flying the approach that you plan, the descent profile approach that you planned from, you know, before you even started descending, if you're on profile and on plan and nothing's changed, you should be able to descend and reach the airport with minimal to no speed brake applications, because a speed brake is energy wasted. It's energy dissipated by turbulence and drag, and you know, when you could have just simply brought the power back sooner to lose that speed sooner, or to go down, or to be down a little bit lower. So it's a matter of good planning. If you have good planning, and things can go awry. You can have runway changes, you can have vectors, shortcuts especially would be bad, because if you're covering less distance, you got to get down faster. And not that they're bad, but I mean just in terms of obviously not having been planned for in your fuel efficiency. But in general, if everything's going according to your plan, you should need little to no speed brake. There goes Mare.
Flight deck. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Captain, the captain is secure.
Checked. And I think we're still a little bit far away to actually call for a gate in Montreal here. I think we got to be within 25 miles. I think is the maximum range it will determine to. So let's see how it goes here. Oh, you know what? One thing I always forget to do: auto brake on medium. For some reason, I always forget this in the Airbus. It's not on any of the checklists, so I just don't think about it. Alright.
1,000 to go.
5,000 descending 4,000. Check. I think what we'll do is we'll just switch to manual speed and bring the speed target back to about 220. And I want it to stay in managed descent, so I'm hoping that it is in descent mode, so it should stick to this glide slope more, and it'll just slowly pull back to the 220 at idle, I hope. Although it seems like it's in flight level change mode and it's just an open descent at this point. Well, you weren't supposed to do that. Extend speed brake. See, now it's going all nutty here. Airbus really doesn't like being interfered with, does it? Okay, let's see if we can. Montreal, Trudeau, there we are. Let's go gate. We have to go into the 50s or 60s to have a gate for arrival in Montreal. We'll go with 59 today. We're going to gate 59. And let's just check here. Let's do this. Leveling off at 4. Parking spots and coordinates. Yeah, there we go. Add to need board. And just out of interest's sake here, 59 is right there. It's about halfway down. So coming off Foxtrot is going to be a little bit to our left. Oops. Not what I want. I want that. I want that. I want to go there. Alright. Level at 4,000. 220 knots. And what do we got? We've got Lona, 8.7 miles to Lona. We're almost there. Bring the speed back a little bit more when we get closer to Lona. Because she is... Okay, good. We are below the glide slope. There's the glide slope indication. We're below the glide slope. We're to the left of the localizer. It's looking good, because she is a bit of a beast to slow down, so you want to make sure you're ready to slow her down early. The second that glide slope comes to life, we're going to start bringing that speed back more and get the flaps out there. You don't want the flaps out too early because it's extra drag, but you don't want them out too late in this plane because this plane's got inertia and it just keeps on flying. We're less than 20 miles to touchdown now. Let's go speed 210.
The Blue 69, you are leaving West Toronto Center is closing. Please monitor income 1228, safe flight.
Here comes the glide slope. Flaps 1.
Speed checked.
That Blue 69 Montreal.
Blue 69.
Speed set to 190.
Blue 69, you're leaving West Toronto Center is closing. Monitor income 1228, safe flight.
And just to check here, we are good down to 3,000 past Lona. So I'm going to set 3,000 so I can really quickly start a descent here if I need to. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a simultaneous intercept of both the loca and the glide slope, but I just want to be safe here. Make sure we're ready to quickly expedite a descent because this airplane, like I said, she's a lumbering beast on the approach and doesn't like to slow down or go down.
The Toronto Center is offline.
Any second now that lope's going to come to life.
Okay, switching. Have a good day for JetBlue 69.
Come on, you can do it. Any second now. Waiting with bated breath. There it is, Lokestar. Okay, perfect.
American 772, consideration 4,000.
It is 3,000 for the go-around, is it not? Yes, it is. So we'll just leave that 3,000 up there because any second now we're going to get the glide slope anyways. But that's Lokestar. Okay, at the speed at 190, that's not too bad. There's glide slope star. Go-around altitude 3,000 set. Glide slope. Let's get the speed back to 180 so we have some margin on the flap 2 there because it's going to probably accelerate here. Flap 2.
Check the speed.
She's just hanging on there. Flap 2.
Check the speed.
Speed brake. Flap 2.
Checked.
Flap 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
Montreal Center, King Air, Golf Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot.
Golf Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot, Montreal.
Golf Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot, the St. Hubert Airport on the refueling ramp.
70.
Ready to copy IFR.
Gear down.
Toronto City Center.
Gear down.
Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot, we are clear to Toronto City Center via the St. Sebastian set departure. Flight plan route runway 24 left, squawk code 0365.
138 yeah.
King Air, Golf Yankee, correction, Golf Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot, clear to the Toronto City Center Airport via the St. Hubert 7 departure as filed. Depart 24 left and squawk 0365.
Flap 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot, read back is
Landing checklist.
Cabin crew seats for landing. Okay.
And St. Hubert, Yankee Foxtrot, Foxtrot, Roger. Can we switch to 24
Advised.
right? Enable 24 left in St. Hubert.
Speed.
Yeah, no problem. Runway change, balance and change.
Alright,
Ta
24 right, balance and change.
Landing no blue.
King Air, Yankee
Landing
Foxtrot,
checklist
Foxtrot,
complete.
thanks.
Gotta get myself ready for my rudder pedals and everything here. Alright, we got speed 138. We got the landing speed dialed in, or the approach speed dialed in anyways. Here we are. We are a couple minutes away from touchdown. Actually, I think we should probably add about 3 knots. 2 knots for a 14 knot headwind.
American 772, turn left, heading 300.
1520 for
300,
Volax.
American 772.
Volax 1520, go around altitude is set. Transat 649er, Volax final.
Winds at Montreal, 25-15, clear to land, runway 24 right.
Clear to land 24 right, Transat 649er, thank you. Alright, cleared to land. Everything is good to go. Nothing left to do but just pull out the landing. Easy, right? Yeah, that's one thing I learned the hard way about the 330. Slow it down early. She's a beast. She doesn't like to slow down on final.
Hey, it's left 270, clear down.
1,000.
American 7.
Checked. She's a great big beast. She never wants to slow down. Have it slow down early. Pretty much by the time you intercept the localizer, you should be getting ready for flap 2. At least flap 1 and getting ready for flap 2. When you're on the glide slope, you need at least flap 2 and usually the gear down to lose any speed at that point. Stable. Stable. Disengage in the autopilot.
Can I get a wind check for American 772?
300.
100 above.
Checked.
200.
Minimum.
Landing.
Check.
100. 50. 40. 30.
Glide.
20. Retard 10. 5.
Yeah, not the smoothest landing in the world, but there we are.
Spoilers.
Let those get down.
Reverse green.
Checked.
Cell.
Reverse coming out.
American 772,
70
sorry
knots.
for delay, wind check Montreal 250 at 15, altimeter 3008.
Alright, thanks for American 772.
Atlanta 649, welcome at Montreal, any specific gate for you today?
Planning gate 59, Transat 649er.
Plaza 649, Roger, gate 59, taxi via Bravo 2, cross 28 Foxtrot to the gate.
Bravo 2, Foxtrot, cross runway 28 to the gate. Merci pour votre service. Approchez.
Merci Rob, à la prochaine.
Alright. Okay to clean up. Crossing 28, clear on the left, clear on the right. Not really paying much attention to where the airplane's going because I'm looking. Here, put strobes back on for the runway crossing. And I think it's this gate is 59 right there. It's one of those gates. It's either that one or that one. I think it's that one, but we'll see when we get a little closer. She's definitely got the winter textures going on here. 19 degrees, huh? There's a limit to what the simulation can do. Wouldn't that be great if they actually linked the temperature to the winter textures, though? If it's below 0, you get winter textures. That would be... Yeah, I don't think it would be that hard to do, per se, but the trouble would be changing it from, you know, one... That would be the real challenge, would be changing it from, you know... Where would you transition from winter textures to non-winter textures, right, as you're sort of flying around? I'm going to start that APU while we're making this turn, because the FO won't do it for me. Yeah, that was the gate right there. Okay. Well, I can't believe that Dominique stayed on for us. He's been on for quite a few hours, but merci beaucoup for the service. Do appreciate it. The marshaller's in sight. Taxi light is going off. Crank this big beast around and we are there. Another thing I notice about this beast more than any other, though, on the ground, she really picks up speed easily. Really picks up speed. In the air, can't slow her down. But in the, especially on the ground when you're taxiing, she also doesn't want to slow down on the ground either. She picks up a remarkable amount of speed even at idle. Constantly riding the brakes when you're taxiing in this airplane. Which is true of some jets more than others, but that's one that seems to have been well simulated by Aerosoft on this version of the Airbus. It just constantly wants to go. Constantly having to ride some brakes. Alright, there we are. APU is available. Whew!
American 772, winds up Montreal 25.15, clear to land runway 24 right.
Clear to land 24 right, American 772.
Cockpit from ground.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Chocks are in now, and you can release the parking brake.
Thank you. Parking checklist.
Okay, here's the parking checklist. APU bleed.
On.
Engines.
Off.
Seat belts.
Off.
Exterior lights.
Off.
Fuel pumps.
Off.
Parking brake and chocks.
Set.
Parking checklist is complete.
Alright. The bridge is coming down. The door should be opening momentarily here. It hasn't already. Just wait for that bridge to dock. Looks like it's just finishing up now. Which means we should be able to open that door. I don't know why that door is not opening on its own, but that's okay. We can force it open if we have to. And we can start disembarking. I don't know what GSX is waiting for. It's always waiting for something. It never seems to... I don't know what it is about GSX, but it never seems to quite stop correctly after I get marshaled into a gate. So then I give it 3 more seconds. 2, 1. Nope. And now. Nope. Now. Nope. Yes. Request deboarding. Please and thank you. That should open up some stuff for us. 300 people have got to get off. So and even as we were sitting here, had another it looks like a Dreamliner spawn right next to us there. Gate over. The American airplane should be just about touching down, I believe, was on final here. It's a busy little airport in Montreal today, all things considered, you know. For a non-event day anyways, it's fairly busy. But yes, here we are. Forget the exterior view. Here's the interior view. Here's the exterior view, guys. We are done. That is it. Another leg of a pilot's life complete, and with that, Season 4 is complete, and we have the capability to generate a new schedule. So I might play with this a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to is we're going to go to the job market, and we're going to consider very strongly getting a new job. I've had fun with Transat. It's been a lot of fun. I've seen some fun places, visited some airports I would never have probably otherwise visited. But it's time for a change again, I think. I feel like the stream is a little tired, and I'm a little tired of the 330 stressing me out. So right here, WestJet is probably my best bet for going forward, because it's got a Oh, I have to select it up here, because why would you select it down there? It's kind of silly. I don't like that sometimes. But anyways, there's a few things about this software. It's generally really good software, but there's a few things about it that are sort of counterintuitive, maybe. Things that should be linked together that aren't quite linked. But WestJet, excellent company to work for here. Lots of variety in the flying here. Bases in Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, and with loads of places. Still some Caribbean stuff like Transat, but also a bunch of places throughout the U.S. So you get to do a lot of U.S. flying, a lot of domestic routes too. A lot of domestic flying, and then even a little bit of Hawaii might be fun. That might be fun, and the long haul out to Europe as well, which, as I said, I could, which is done in a Dreamliner. I could consider doing it in the MSFS Dreamliner, or I could wait for the quality ones to come out. Anyways, but lots of flights to choose from, so I like it as a whole. I'm going to think very seriously about it. And that's where we stand right now. So stay tuned, guys. I don't know when Season 5 is going to start, because I don't know, like I said, I don't know quite what I'm planning for Season 5. So it's gonna depend on some things, but nevertheless, don't give up on the channel, guys, because there's got quite a lot of other stuff coming your way. We've got a new review coming at you very soon, and some other videos as well coming at you on the channel. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've had a great time watching this. I've really enjoyed finally getting this done. And we will see you guys all real soon. Stay safe and healthy out there.